Yeah, guys, I don't know what to make of this beekeeping year. This is just one of the weirdest I've ever had. I was kind of quiet about the honey harvesting, but it looks like I will have a partial harvest, a much smaller one than before. Over there is my extractor, and I did manage to get some frames out and close to a bucket full, so maybe 60 pounds, 50 pounds of honey, probably 50 pounds. And it was just to essentially make some room, and there were ample reserves still from the winter. But my biggest challenge was I really had a twofold problem here this year. Was one, I had a lot of older frames, and eventually after a few years you really do have to retire them. They start making the spaces smaller and smaller, they're less useful, plus there's opportunity for disease and even residue of pesticides from the environment and stuff to build up, so it just becomes unhealthy. So introducing a new frame is always a setback among them, because this here, you can see this black template, that is what they're going to be building on, but it takes a while and it takes a lot of energy. It takes, traditionally understood to be about the energy of to make 6 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax to make these cells. So it does set you back for the year, but I was planning for it to be the necessary evil for this year. But the other problem ended up being that I also had some troubles keeping my queens alive. They I don't know if it was the fact that I maybe just pushed on them a little too hard and weakened them when I marked them, but I had a couple non-laying ones, several that were essentially just killed off, and they were very slow to replace them. And my numbers have been so low this year that is a big problem, because low numbers of bees is low harvesting. So I'm still not optimistic about a good honey harvest this year. But that said, then I started creating some support hives with odds and ends materials to start introducing queens to those, so they could build up some numbers, and maybe I could get a boost in the number of bees if I take some from the support hives into these, or worst case scenario, if my numbers are just struggling until fall so that they survive through the winter, I can actually combine a couple of hives. It would mean sacrificing one queen, but at least getting the numbers together. That said, then one of the things I have is the weirdness to add to the factor is that while I have had some where they just struggle to get a queen to retain itself, like that fossil box over there, that guy, I just found the queen was not laying for a couple weeks now. I put in some new brood, and they're putting in what's called super seeder cells. They realize the queen is not functioning, so they're trying to raise a new queen out of it. But I decided today to actually kill the old queen, because it just expedites the process of the finality of the need to actually do something to boost their population. But then I move over to this hive that I've got wide open and checking it out, and I had thought that maybe, okay, I had lost track honestly of who was replacing who with queen bees, so I was expecting some unmarked ones. But then there was one or two that I had left marked. And then I go in here on this, and I kind of crudely marked this one queen here with blue that you could see right there, kind of cuddled between the others. Pretty spotty blue markings, but she's marked. But then I'm looking on the same frame, and there's a second queen already marked. I've got 2 queen bees in the same hive. And yes, they are laying eggs. And yes, there are some super seeder cells. So I don't even know what's going on with that, guys. Sometimes there's a situation with an old queen that is getting a little bit worn out, and they replace her, but they let the old queen hang out for a while. But no, these are 2 queen bees, and they're just like chilling side by side. So now I guess I'm going to take that one of the 2, and introduce it to that queenless hive and go from there. But this is just wild. By the way, this already happened with another hive, and I moved that queen into this hive to make a second one. So I've had 2 double queen colonies, which is, again, not in the rule book, but that's what it is. But yeah, I am going to be probably making an announcement, get this thing down while I figure out how to catch one of these queens and put them in the other under hive. Oh, by the way, if I guess I could talk to you about how I catch queens. Well, I'm gonna put them in. So I always kept, this is a used queen cage in here, but it's a plastic one. I open this top here, pop her inside that inside the cage there, and then this is all stuffed marshmallow. So it's supposed to take a few days for them to eat their way through it, because a new colony or new queen introduced to an existing colony, they're not going to accept her right away. They have to take a few days, at least 3 days, to get used to her. The idea is that if they eat this through this marshmallow, it could take about 3 days, and then by then they're used to her scent and she's fine. There are wild swings of variation on that, of course. I've heard stories where they've just demolished the marshmallow in one day and then just killed the queen. I've also heard of stories where you come back a week and a half, 10 days later, and they still haven't eaten through it. So I will have to check on this, see what's going on. But by the weekend, that'll be kind of a cool project. So I'm going to catch her, stuff her in there, let them, the other bees will actually be, even though they want to try to kill her, they're going to be feeding her, because they just seem to not help themselves through the cage, even as they're trying to kill her. And so she's kept alive for these few days, but that's that. And so yeah, announcements will be coming soon. Very limited honey this year so far. Maybe by Labor Day I'll have some more, but I'm working hard to just boost the numbers, and I guess my principal idea is have the colonies stay alive for the next year. But if all these guys survive, including some of my support ones, I could have some really good numbers next year. Thanks. Yeah, that last plan ended up going pretty badly. I tried to catch the queen in here, and she sort of escaped and panicked, and she flew into the first hole she could, which was the hole for that hive, and immediately a guard bee started tussling with her, and by the time I got her separated from the guard bee had stung her and she died. So back down to one queen in there, and I'm back to resorting to have them just raise their own queen. So that was drama.